Welcome to Recently Logged, where this week we only have 3 melons. Hey guys.
Hello.
We're returning in the chilly month of November.
Whoa, it got cold all of a sudden. It wasn't cold in October.
Actually, it didn't. It's a lie. It's fake.
Well, I'm saying
it's
like
been in the 80s
studio,
and the 70s outside for some reason. But somehow it dropped in temperature in the studio. It was warm today. It was downright warm today.
It has been colder in the studio all day.
Freezing in the studio.
Than it has ever been outside.
So, you know, we're really getting it. We're method podcasting.
You
know, if we talk about Dune, we don't drink any water. If we talk about Ice Age, we are in a pit of ice down here.
We're taking an ice bath while we record.
That's just how seriously we take this podcast.
My teeth just start like chattering like it's a cartoon.
But hey guys, again,
hello.
I'm Micah.
And I'm Robbie.
And yeah, we're recently logged. We talk about movies.
Specifically this week, we're talking about Ice Age.
Yeah.
A childhood classic.
Literally.
Our childhood.
We grew up on this, man. I watched this so many times. I can quote literally almost every line from this film.
Other kids had Shrek. We had Ice Age.
Literally. They had Shrek. How lame is that?
Weak.
We had Ice Age. And I think that formed my humor in the rest of my life, because this is still the funniest movie ever made.
It is quite funny. But yeah, let's get into what they need to know about the movie.
Let's. Alright, so again we're talking about Ice Age, which is a 2002 movie. It is rated PG. It's an hour and 21 minutes. Its little IMDb description, which is very funny, is the story revolves around sub-zero heroes, a woolly mammoth, a saber-toothed tiger, a sloth, and a prehistoric combination of a squirrel and a rat known as Scrat.
Wow.
Which is about the worst description I think you can get of the movie.
Tells you almost nothing about the plot of the movie.
It's amazing. The cast features Denis Leary, John Leguizamo, Ray Romano, Jack Black, Cedric the Entertainer, Stephen Root.
It's so crazy that Jack Black was in this whole time and I didn't realize.
Alan Tudyk, and others.
Hey.
It was directed by Chris Wedge, along with additional direction by Carlos Saldanha. And it was written by, if it'll load, Michael J. Wilson, Michael Berg, Peter Ackerman, with additional story by James Brishana, Doug Compton, Jeff Siergi. I don't know. Yeah, take these with a grain of salt. Michael Trumerer. Wow, a lot of people worked on this.
Yes.
Galen Chu and Zeth Feinberg.
I was kind of hoping there would be another Michael in the writing team, so there'd be 3 of them.
Yeah, a lot of people worked on this movie. A lot of people.
Wow, who'd have thought it?
It was nominated for 1 Oscar, baby, for Best Animated Picture.
Did you just say it won Oscar? It won the Oscar.
Unfortunately, maybe it should have. Did you ever think about that? Give me some more facts, Robbie, while I look up what won the Oscar that year.
What other facts are there?
Give me the composer. Give me the cinematographer.
I mean, it's Ice Age, dude. It's a DreamWorks movie.
Give me some of the songs in it.
No, right. It's Blue Sky.
It's Blue Sky.
Why did
this
I think
was this was out of nowhere.
Yeah, Blue Sky. I don't know. I was not prepped for this. David Newman is the composer. Why did you say oh?
Well, okay, fair enough. Academy. Also released in 2002 was a film known as Spirited Away.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like there was easily a much better animated films in 2002.
Okay, but if it was like a bad year, which sometimes we have bad years of animated films, this should have won. But yeah, darn you, Hayao Miyazaki.
How Hayao Miyazaki personally sabotaged Ice Age's Oscar campaign.
It's true, he did. He was out to get it. But yeah, that's all I've got. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, let's get into what we actually thought of the movie.
So, Robbie, again, childhood classic.
Yes.
What do you currently, adult you, not childhood you, think of Ice Age? Probably the most important question you've ever been asked on this podcast.
I feel like I feel like my opinion, like between me watching this as a child and watching it as an adult hasn't really changed at all. Take that as you will, but
Right, the blind nostalgia over
yeah, I
here.
was about to say, I don't know if I'm just like blinded by my childhood perception of it, but like I generally think it's a pretty funny movie, with a good vocal cast and like a pretty solid sense of like comedic timing and everything. Like I as animated comedies go, I don't know I don't know Blue Sky's extended catalog, but I feel like
It's
this
mostly
is
just Ice.
yeah, I was about to say I feel like this is one of the better movies they've
Yeah,
produced.
no, it is. Here's the
Oh
list.
yeah, like Epic and Rio and yeah, okay, that
They
makes
did
sense.
Robots. That was pretty good. Peanuts movie.
Yeah, they have a couple of like things that hit pretty hard, but like I don't know. This is one of their better ones in my opinion. Just solely based on like the comedic chops of it. I think dramatically it doesn't really ever fully find its footing. Like I admire its attempt at like, pulling at the heartstrings. Like I'm glad that it's obviously, putting in an effort even though I don't think it 100% succeeds. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's generally just a fun like road trip comedy movie, and that's all it really needs to be for me to enjoy it. So yeah, I don't know. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I think it's fine. I think it's a fine
A
movie
thumbs up from
that
Robbie.
I still laugh very hard at. So it gets a positive score from me. What about you, Micah?
Nice.
What do you think of Ice Age?
Well, I think it's the greatest movie ever made, perhaps.
Perhaps.
And that it is probably the most influential piece of cinema ever crafted. Martin Scorsese actually said in an article that he based the hit film Silence, which was itself a remake, but don't worry about it. He based it off of Ice Age.
There you
So
go. True facts.
True facts, yeah. But actually, yeah, I'm pretty fond of Ice Age still. I really enjoy it. I think it's got a good heart. I think it was a great kind of start for the studio. I mean, I'm pretty sure this was the studio's first movie.
I have no idea.
And they came out here swinging pretty darn well, in my opinion.
Can't just go making claims like that, Mike. I have no way of
Well, I'm like
fact-checking.
80% sure. You do have a way of
I
fact
know,
checking.
I'm checking now.
And honestly, yeah, I just laugh all the way through this. And I'm sure that's somewhat nostalgia, just me being so familiar with a lot of the lines and
Yeah,
jokes.
it was their debut feature.
That's what I
Okay.
thought. But it's got such good, like, comedic sense. It's got great physical comedy. Not all of the jokes land, but especially for animated films at the time, like, this holds up there, in my opinion. Like, I laugh almost just as much as this as I legitimately do at, like, the first Shrek.
Yeah.
Not the second Shrek, but the first Shrek.
I was about to say this came out a year after Shrek, which makes me wonder like how much that movie influenced this one. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I'm sure it did. But yeah, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it has heart, and I really admire it for that. I actually think, I guess, that the emotional core works a little bit better than Robbie does.
I don't know. It's not like bad or anything. It's just like that's not why I remember the movie.
And it just shows that the movie was actually trying, and then it actually has like a decent liar, like it handles a liar reveal twist pretty well, and it feels like a far better movie than it should be, especially given Ice Age like 2 through 5.
Yeah, that's really the biggest reason I brought the like emotional like core of the movie being, serviceable, is because the sequels aren't really like that.
No, the sequels, they were like, oh wait, guys, we don't have to try. How silly of us.
Yeah,
But-
the writing falls off pretty fast for this franchise.
But I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, which is
there you go.
exactly on average on Letterboxd.
Oh, it has a three.
It's got a 3.5 average.
I mean,
People like this
It
movie.
is a really funny movie.
People enjoy this movie. It's fun. I actually, one of our cousin, Zach, who's been on the podcast before, he watched it relatively recently, and he was like, I honestly think I enjoy this more as an adult than I did as a kid. Like, it's just it's a funny movie.
Yeah, like honestly, even if you just like none of the emotional stuff works for you at all and you don't care about like the liar reveal plot at all, I think you can genuinely just like kind of tune that stuff out and watch it for the jokes and still have a decent enough time. You know?
Honestly,
it's funny enough that it works.
The performances are great, and I'll still harp on that, like that physical comedy. Like half of the comedy in this movie is done through like animated physicality, which again, as we've talked about
really
before
admirable.
in the past, we actually like just recently, because we did Hotel Transylvania on the podcast, talked about how difficult it is to do like really funny physical comedy in a 3D animated movie, especially one made in
this early,
2002. That's pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah.
But do you have a question to kick us into a little further discussion?
Why am I never prepped?
Apparently not. Like, I almost always segue into you, Robbie.
I know, but it always comes out of nowhere. I don't know. I guess a pretty like surface level question, one that I like to ask for any like sort of older 3D animated movies. How do you think like just the general art direction and style of animation hold up in view of like modern stuff?
Yeah, it's interesting because this is really weird.
It's simultaneously like a very unpleasant looking film and also like kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd honestly would hold it in a very similar spot. I don't want to keep harping on Shrek because they're not actually that similar to films in many ways. But I would hold it in a very similar position to Shrek, where it's not like ugly, but you certainly can tell the technology was not like quite there.
It's definitely aged a bit.
But it's got to actually, like, with that, I think it has like this really weird charm to it.
Right.
I think somehow like just the locations work well. I think it was really smart doing like an Ice Age movie in this era of animation where you could have just everything be snow and ice.
I was about to say, you either have like rocks or ice or snow.
Yeah,
that's
so
like your texture.
The world honestly feels like a video game world. Like it's extremely flat for a lot of it, but like it really pulls off this kind of interesting feel. Like I actually feel like there is a space.
Yeah.
I feel like I know the area, I know the path they're taking, which honestly a lot of like newer, nicer looking movies, even like the Croods, don't really pull that off very well. Like that kind of
Cruise is strange.
the good sense of like actual movement and atmosphere in your physical location. I think it gives it just, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I think the animation genuinely has like a nice charm to it.
No, it's funny because like locations like the waterfall with the cliff and everything, and like the first place that they camp out, like I can picture them.
Yeah, they're very memorable.
Yeah,
and like
it's great.
I think the character designs are very funny in this one because Manny looks about the same in all of them.
Yeah,
Diego looks about the same in all of them, but Sid looks so dirty in this one.
Right,
he looks like he is
mangy.
covered in dirt and
mold.
mud and mold, and his fur is like fringed, and I think that's hilarious. He looks gross in this movie.
I was about to say they made him look like disgusting in this, and I love it. That's how it should be.
He looks so like pristine in the sequel movies. Why is that?
Dude, yeah, that's so weird.
He looks like smooth in the other movies.
But yeah, like specifically stuff like any of like the side characters, like especially like the human character.
Oh, the humans, yeah, they don't look good. They don't.
I don't know. Like I admire like kind of the angular direction they go for all of the art direction.
It actually
but it looks
feels
weird.
Surprisingly similar, honestly. Like the human designs feels very similar to like DreamWorks' 2D work, not their 3D work, but
with
their
like the
2D
blocky
humans.
noses and heads and everything.
Like think like the Prince of Egypt character design.
It's funny.
Brought to life in like 2002 CGI.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I don't know. Like it definitely gives it a unique identity. Like I can immediately picture like all the characters and everything. It's
and especially with the humans being in this one, it's so funny how like distinctly this stands out next to all of the other Ice Age movies. This movie does not feel like it takes place in the same universe as a single other Ice Age movie.
Right, everything's so barren, and I know they like move to different locations in each one typically, but like this one feels like apocalyptic.
Beyond that, like
the
the characters feel different.
Yeah.
Again, the humans are just like gone. Everything's so weird in the sequels. I doubt we'll ever talk about the sequels on here. That's kind of brutal to put ourselves through watching those. I did that on my YouTube channel. I did for my like 1,000 subscriber live stream or whatever. I did like a Blue Sky ranking on there just because it was small and I didn't feel like doing a whole video.
We've seen a lot of Blue Sky.
Well, I've seen all of Blue Sky.
Well, there you go.
That's why I did a ranking of it. But I put like most of the Ice Age movies almost all down on the bottom. But this one was right up there at the top.
Yeah, I was about to say they produced a actually I think it either was nominated or won best animated short film at the Oscars when it released, but I think it's called Bunny. It's a short film they
Yeah.
did. It's actually very good. And looks a lot like it's another like furry character, and the hair,
Furry Robbie.
yeah, like a character that has fur. But like I don't know, the fur looks very similar, which makes sense because they came out so close together. But
Yeah, actually on that still though, I want to mention Scrat.
dude,
Because Scrat, I don't know what it is. And I know they overdo Scrat in like every other movie and like they run his bits into the ground.
he basically gets like minion
He
syndrome.
gets minion syndrome.
Where
but
like
in,
he becomes like a weird over exaggerated version of how he was in the first movie.
but in the first movie, I'm sorry, Scrat is hilarious.
Funniest thing to ever happen.
His character design is like the dumbest thing you've ever seen.
Any of his, literally anytime he's like confused or screaming at something, it's the funniest thing in the world because he makes like the craziest face.
Right, like again, he has that kind of Sid thing going on, which is he doesn't have in later things, where he also looks really mangy and gross, and he's got these weird bulgy eyes. Like it almost reminds me, like him and Sid almost remind me of like Rango. And their
Yeah, I was about to
characters.
say Scrat is kind of like grotesque.
And
in this.
then it's paired with just like the funniest freaking vocal performance. All of his little yells and everything
Right.
are so funny.
I don't know why it works so well. Like in theory, it should be kind of like obnoxious, but like just the way they're timed out and like the way they're sprinkled in through the story too is really it's
Yeah, I
just
think
really
it's
fun.
I think
don't
it's
know.
kind of admirable what they're going for even with him because instead of feeling like the Minions with Scrat where they just kind of have nothing to do and they're clearly there to just like pander to kids. Like sure, you could say that Scrat is that and you could say he's definitely that in later movies. Though it's weird they also tried to do like the mini sloths as like a Minions thing in one of the later
I
movies.
forgot about those.
Yeah.
Oh,
those
no.
are terrible. They really were trying to get Minions in their movies, but like at the same time, it feels so much more in this movie in line with like I don't even like the Peanuts style thing where you have just like it feels very classical to have like this side character just doing weird
Yeah.
comedy tableau in the side.
No, that's what I was thinking. I was gonna compare it to like a theater thing or something. You know, you have like this comedic like almost narrator who's not quite a narrator who like steps us
Yeah,
through
he
the
comes
whole
in.
movie.
He comes in for like the scene transitions and the location.
Yeah,
changes.
exactly. Yeah, he opens the movie and like begins like this big avalanche and everything, and like he keeps popping up throughout the story. I don't know. It feels a lot more like tastefully sprinkled in and like actually refreshing.
Well, that's why I said like he kind of
rather than the
reminds
story
me
coming to a
like
halt.
in a really dumb comparison. He kind of reminds me of like how Snoopy is used in a lot of the Peanuts
Exactly.
things.
Yeah.
Um,
It's good stuff, man.
So yeah, like shout out to Scrat for real.
Dude, the charade scene was
Yes, the charade scene.
That's great
The
stuff.
pachyderm.
Pachyderm.
Pack of flying fish. On that note, because I mentioned something in particular on that,
Okay.
what do you think of the vocal cast of this movie?
Vocal cast. Ray Romano as Ray Romano
Great stuff.
He's pretty fun. Yeah, I was about to say it very much is playing on like his typecast roles that he has. I've seen Everybody Loves Raymond.
I was about to say everybody loves Raymond.
I've seen the show and he's basically just doing the same
He's basically
thing
just
here.
he's basically Manny.
But like, you know, it's actually it's a pretty funny script, so I can't really complain.
Well, and not only that, but they didn't have him just like, yeah, sure, he's just doing like the Ray Romano
Yeah.
thing, but they still like wrote his character,
Exactly,
which they do
yeah.
not do, and like a lot of movies wouldn't do, and they do not do later in this series. They have
goodness,
Drake
dude.
come in at one point in the series, and he's just like, "Hi, I'm Drake."
Hi, I'm
He doesn't actually say that, but that's what it feels like.
But yeah, no, like generally I like his performance. John Leguizamo is like probably the MVP of the vocal cast here.
Oh yeah, this is what made me like
This
fall in
introduced
love with
yeah,
him
I was about to
as
say
a
this was
kid.
this was our introduction to him.
And seeing him in later stuff like now, like in stuff like even like the John Wick series and
Dude.
like a lot of his other work like the menu and stuff. It's so fun to see him show up.
I was about to say
'Cause I'm like,
he's
"It's
such a
my
fun
boy.
character actor. Yeah,
It's freaking Sid the Sloth, and he's so much fun. Which I like that to know that he is just as equally fun on screen too.
right.
He's got such
a great
screen presence.
Yeah, he's got a great screen presence. And it comes through here too. Like, not only is like Sid a really like funny, like funnily animated character, like also the Joker, he gets like all of the best jokes almost.
He really does. And you can really feel like the actor, like John, like emoting in the studio, quite frankly.
Dude, there are some like obviously there's a lot of like big comedic lines and like weird impressions, like in weird voices he does, but like even just the small like just offhanded lines are so funny from him.
Yeah, I think
There's some great reads in here.
yeah, and even Denis Leary, the voice of Diego,
Yes.
is like really fun. Like he's
Right?
just being he's goofy in this. He's goofing.
The where's the baby?
Where's the baby? I love
booming,
all of the like the saber-toothed tigers. Like you have like Ray Romano being like, "Hi, I'm Ray Romano," and you have John like Leguizamo and being like, you know, like Sid, and then all of the saber-toothed tigers are like, "And when we find the baby,
Dude, the
we're gonna
main
eat
evil
him.
tiger.
We're gonna tear him into little pieces while he's still alive,
Right.
Diego. Do you know what I mean, Diego? Will you do this for me?"
Goodness, dude.
And that's like happening, and then you have that, and Diego's serious, and you have one other serious of the saber-tooth tigers, and then you have Jack Black.
Right, dude. What on earth is Jack Black doing in this?
The white meat and the dark
Not his best work.
It's funny though. I love his little random roles that he would get throughout like the 2000s and everything as just like bit parts in the back
Yeah.
of animated movies.
Goodness, dude.
Reminds me of like Robin Williams and Happy Feet.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Don't say that. Like, oh no.
But no, I think honestly though the three mains have great like chemistry together, both as voice actors and as characters. That's kind of what makes this
Yeah.
movie work.
Dude, literally I think the entire like premise of this movie lives or dies on the main trio being fun to watch, and they really are in this.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I would just love to see like the three of them doing like sketch comedy together or something. Like
Right.
that's how well their dynamics work in this. I could totally see like the three of those actors being really good with like different character dynamics and everything.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I don't like, you know, a comedic trio that actually feels like they put time and effort into like banging out all their dynamics correctly, you know?
Right? And Ice Age and
In
like
Ice Age.
I think the character dynamics come around really well too. Like they do a good job of getting you like into Diego as a character and working his
Right.
little character arc in there. And just like the way Sid and Manny even just first get together, like just Sid just like absolutely annoying him. And like the weird, again, Marianne pointed this out, again, our sister who's
Yeah.
also been on the podcast. She was watching it with us and pointed out like the kind of disturbing nature and the fact that Manny really is just walking to where he'll go like die in the ice
Yeah,
age.
right, die
which is
alone
like
in the ice.
which is so sad and like so dark for this movie. But this movie has an insane death count, by the way. But yeah, like that's what he's doing, and then like again, it's very much in that way like Shrek reminiscent, where
yeah.
like you have this comedic character breaking down the heart of this
Exactly.
big lovable guy. Again, Shrek definitely influenced this movie.
When
There's a
was-
reason we keep bringing it
Yeah,
up.
I don't know how long it was in development, but it feels like a very direct response to something like Shrek. Even though I don't know
I
how
can't
they would have pulled
imagine.
that
Yeah, I
off.
was about to say, being that it came
I think
out
it
a
might
year
just be
after,
coincidental.
Yeah, it was just like what they were going for.
But it's
maybe.
literally like a buddy road trip movie.
But like, dude, like I don't know, like even more so than Shrek and Donkey,
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly, because I don't know, I have my issues with Shrek. We did an episode on it. Even more
Oh,
so
yeah, we
than
did.
Shrek and Donkey, I really love just like the way Sid and Manny get along really fast. Like,
Right.
I don't know if it's just because I honestly enjoy Sid way more than Donkey as a character,
It's because we watched it when we were kids, Micah,
or because
that's
we
why.
watched it when we were kids. But like, I don't know. I think they do a really good job of just doing like wacky comedic stuff to like
Right.
really convince you why they need to stick together. I think the rhino or the rhino
Dude.
bit is so funny. It's hilarious, man.
Must be the last of the season.
Must be the last of the season.
I don't know how often I quote Ice Age, but it's probably like once a week.
Literally though. Honestly, anytime I see a pine cone too, I'm like, a pine cone.
Dude.
There's just so many like great lines in this. Also, it's really funny. We were joking a lot. There's like this weird, like comedic, like almost like homoerotic thing.
It's not homoerotic, but there are like an amazing, like an astonishing amount of like coupled up characters who you can assume are gay.
Yeah, who you can assume are gay, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
I love this so much. And even there's even like jokes that poke at it too.
Yeah.
It's not like something that they didn't know they were doing, which is very funny for my 2002 movie.
I was about to say, I don't know, like it's not really like making fun of gay couples, but like
there's just a lot of them in there,
yeah,
allegedly.
it's just a lot of them in there. I don't know why. They're just like bickering about random stuff.
Literally, it's so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought I would mention that because I think it's notable. When we were watching the movie, we were just like, wait a minute, what?
Right.
Even again, because of it made me think of it because the rhinos.
Right, they're sitting down for a meal together. Like we don't
like
know
he
why.
prepared him a salad.
Yeah.
Like there.
I don't. Yeah. Kind of strange. I don't know. Should we? I don't know what to read into that. Quite frankly,
there's nothing to read into with it. It's just fun.
It is fun. I love like almost every character in this movie.
Literally. They're so even like the. What, I don't even know what those are. I guess like armadillos. The one he said he was on the brink of an evolutionary breakthrough. It's just funny. I don't know. Maybe our brains are broken. I like crack up thinking about jokes from this movie.
We can play Extinction later, dude. Literally just in the first like 15 minutes there are enough like just all-timer jokes.
Why not
for me
call
anyway.
it the nippy season?
The nippy season.
Or what is the other one, like the chilly season or something like that? Why call
the
it
big chill?
The big chill. Why call it the Ice Age? Because of all the ice.
Dude. Yeah, it is probably just because we grew up on this, but I genuinely think,
I don't know, man.
Like there's a bunch of just really funny like exchanges.
And
the movie.
and like there are a lot of times I think this will be a good comparison for like why I don't think it's totally just nostalgia, because there are a lot of like nostalgic movies where like people will sit down. I know some people who are really nostalgic for like Open Season, but you can sit down and watch Open Season, and that movie is trash.
Just garbage.
It's garbage.
Oh, no.
And even people who are like, anyway, that I know, who are like nostalgic for Open Season are like, this is not a good movie.
Not a good movie.
It does not try. I think this movie, you can genuinely tell, has some heart behind it.
Well, yeah, like they obviously put in like effort into all of the jokes and like dynamics and like set pieces and everything. Like it clearly has like people who gave a crap about the movie behind it and actually wanted to make something that was really entertaining, and I think they did, dude.
Speaking of which, what do you think of our emotional stuff in this movie? So like scenes like the baby at the waterfall,
well, again,
the cave paintings, all of our big emotional swings.
We basically have Sid doesn't really have like an emotional arc in the movie.
Does he need one.
Yeah, he doesn't really need one. He's just like the comedic character.
Well, he's that really nice character. I love characters like him in this dynamic where like everybody hates him.
Exactly.
He's the worst, but he's so darn optimistic. I love that. Like he just ends up bringing
Very
together
self-assured.
like a found family because he's just so optimistic about everything. Like his family like absolutely hates him, and he's just like, what are you gonna do? Guess I'm migrating by myself.
Yeah, but like Diego has like his little arc realizing that like
maybe murdering babies is bad.
I was about to say, what's his arc here? Like realizing murder baby bad ?
Which is a funny character arc.
But yeah, and like I think Manny's like found family thing, it's a little basic, but it doesn't have like there's nothing against making your emotional arc basic.
Well, I kind of appreciate what they do with it, quite frankly.
They handle it with a lot more subtlety than I would expect.
It's very subtle, and it's done in a very like mature feeling way. Like it's not like super integral to his character, like for
Exactly.
kids. Like if you watch this movie as a
Yeah.
kid, you just be like, oh, he's sad.
Oh, he's sad.
Um,
He misses his like other what a herd. What
yeah,
is
it's
the word
hard.
I'm looking
But
for?
when you watch the movie, like as an adult anyway, like I get like a genuine sense of like loss from this character. Like they
Mm-hmm.
do a really good job with the pretty, I think it's a pretty nice looking like cave painting sequence to
Yeah.
portray like, again, there are a lot of dark themes in this movie. Again,
Right.
Manny was effectively trying to essentially kill himself in the
Yeah.
movie, and like they don't deal with that lightly. Like they give him a good like
Exactly.
mature
Yeah.
feeling punch to go with it.
No, they give it just the right amount of dramatic weight for like a comedy like
Yeah, I was
this,
about to
you
say,
know?
whereas like at the same time, none of those elements are focused on. Like you, unless you like, again, I didn't even realize think about that Manny thing for like what he was doing until this most recent watch
Mm-hmm.
when Marianne brought it up.
Yeah.
It never dawned on me. Like
Well, because they don't draw attention to it. They're not like, "Hey, look, we're doing a
exactly,
thing
which I
here.
think would be
Can't you
really,
see?"
I think would be really like distasteful.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really smart the way they treat Manny in the movie, and like, and as an adult, you get such a bigger sense of like, man, this character is like really at his low.
Right? Yeah, no. And again, it makes the comedic scenes all the more like heartwarming and enjoyable because you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, look, he's finally like letting his guard down," and you can read more into that because of the emotional stakes they give
Which,
you.
if we're hopping on the Shrek train again, real quick, pull
Oh my
into Shrek
goodness.
Station.
Shrek Central Station.
I think that's a much more compelling character for me to care about as he like warms up than Shrek just being like, I'm an ogre and people hate ogres. Leave
Wow.
me alone. And then him warming up to somebody like it's what Shrek is doing, but like Manny actually has like a genuinely like I don't know. It makes me by the time Manny is like cracking jokes and really getting into
Yeah.
stuff, you're like, ah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's sweet. It's a sweet thing, but I'm not like shedding tears over here, is
No,
what I
no,
would say.
yeah. And I think it pulls in together really interestingly for like the finale when we get like the fact that he is pretty quick to like forgive Diego. Like
Exactly,
he's like,
yeah.
yeah, I was going leading you to murder and death and but like you guys are like family now. I'm not going to do that.
We said found family. It's actually found herd, Micah.
Found her. Sorry. But like I think that works really well. I think it ties in a really cohesive way. Nothing about it feels blocky, and because of that, again, it avoids a big pitfall I hate in movies, which is be like this movie would almost be insufferable to me if they get to the end and like Diego's like, wait, guys, I was lying to you the whole time, and they were just like, get out of the
Yeah.
herd, get out of here.
Right, they spent the whole movie bonding. Like it would be like a really annoying beat if they were like, "How could you?"
I was about to say they didn't
I don't
trust him
believe
from
you.
day one.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. And like Sid's not the kind of character to do that.
Right.
So like it just I don't know, it works really well and makes it for like a climax that I actually really enjoy.
Yeah, I was about to say the final like set piece is fun and like I don't know, it
remember-
wraps up in a pretty nice way.
Yeah, I remember watching it as a kid too, in that moment when like you have Diego and the other saber tooth like moving in on Manny, and then like they do like the dramatic turn, and like like the whole time that they've been in cahoots, and it just felt like a really cool moment to child brain me.
That's funny.
I was like, they're pulling off epic
Whoa.
things, cons.
Mike is like things are going down.
That's what got me into heist movies was Ice Age.
in
They're
which
pulling
no
off-
heist takes
Yeah,
place.
but they're doing like heist style. They're doing like Ocean's 11 shenanigans.
fake out babies,
Fake out babies.
Snowboarding.
Snowboarding.
snowboard sloth.
Dramatic changes of status quos. You know?
Uninspiring
next-
finale.
It's great. At least it was to child brain me.
funny.
It's still like fine
Yeah.
now. And I think it's kind of like I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of like the final scene stuff when they actually like return the baby. It's just like whatever. We
Yeah.
haven't really talked about the baby, but like the baby is just like a catalyst for like the plot to happen. I don't even think he's like that important to like
I
that
mean,
much. Like, he's not, it being a baby doesn't really matter that much to Manny, other
yeah.
than the fact that it's defenseless.
I was about to say it directly informs like Manny's loss, but like I don't know, it feels a little blunt and it's not really like expounded upon enough for it to really matter all that much. Like it could be anything that they have to go put anywhere, you know.
Exactly, but I think it works
I
relatively
mean, I'm glad
well.
it's a baby.
I'm glad
because
it's a baby.
yeah, because it like, you know, it plays into the whole found
Plays
family
into
thing.
comedy hijinks,
Yeah.
plays into the found family.
Exactly.
And I think the humans are like a really, like, I don't know, this movie got my like imagination stirring when I was younger, which a lot of movies like this don't do either.
Yeah.
Like I would like, again, because you could really feel out the locations, I would like imagine the greater world. I would imagine what these humans were doing. Like they're
Why
just
is the atmosphere so distinct in a 2002
Literally.
movie about ice?
literally like, and they do it all, everything in such like a toned back tangible way. Like anything that's not comedy is like surprisingly like kind of subtle and
Well, that's the thing.
done.
Yeah, they only put like a bunch of what am I thinking of? Like focus. That's not the word I'm thinking of, but like a lot of
I can't help you here.
importance. I don't. What am I looking for?
I can't help you here. What
I
are you
don't
trying
know.
to say? Just continue the thing, and
Yeah.
maybe I'll be able to help.
I don't know. They draw a lot of attention to the comedy bits because that's like the main draw of the movie.
Yeah.
And like all of the more subtle pieces of world building and like character development are there, and I really admire that, but they don't draw like excessive attention to it. Be like, look guys, we're like trying to do something here, can't you see? Which I don't know why that's so common amongst kids movies. It's very annoying.
Right? So, and like this movie isn't anything crazy.
No.
I always find it funny that like when we do a movie that we like love, like we'll always talk about all of the things that we don't like about it. And when we do a movie that we like either dislike or just think is fine, we'll spend most of it just praising the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for obvious reasons, I think it's good to point out like the big notable things of the movie.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like this movie isn't like revolutionary inherently. Like it's fun.
I think
It's
really the biggest
cute.
thing about it is that it's a fun watch. Like that's
Yeah, I mean
that's
we
the highest
watch
praise I
this
can
we
give
watch
it.
this all the time, but it's really not doing like it at the end of the day it still looks kind of dated and ugly. There's still some weird plot pacing.
Yeah, I don't like how a
There's-
lot of the back half of it is paced out.
Yeah,
but like there's still good bits.
Even
in there.
stuff like the dodo stuff like just feels so excessive for the pacing. I love the dodo scenes.
The dodo scene is like almost awesome, but like the movie comes to like a grinding halt.
Yeah,
for it.
literally. Like even like there's like this midway through when they get the baby that they're like, oh, we need like scenes with baby hijinks, but we don't really know what to do, and we like they've already been walking for
Yeah.
so long that it doesn't really feel like they're progressing anywhere. So the movie really does feel like it just like stops, and then like Sid took the baby, and then there's stuff going on over
Yeah.
here, and then the rhinos come back, and then
Which
like,
those things are fun.
no,
but,
they're
like,
all funny,
yeah.
but it definitely does feel like this journey kind of stops. Even like the slide sequence, which is a really fun like set piece, and I remember that used to be like my
That used to be
favorite
my
part when
favorite
I was
part
a
of the
kid.
movie, yeah.
It looked so cool,
Dude, the
and-
fish would always scare the crap out of me when I was watching it, and then I would be like, "Oh, but here comes the slide." part."
Literally, yeah. So like stuff like that is really fun, but it ultimately does like make the pacing feel a lot weirder because there's like zero drive during any of those scenes.
Well, it's like, oh, you have Diego lying to them like, oh, we got to take the shortcut to get through. Like, no real stakes, but like,
Exactly.
other than like, oh, they're gonna get crushed by the ice, but like, obviously, they're not going to get crushed by the ice.
Yeah, so it's just like this weird thing. Like the pacing doesn't fully work. Not every joke lands. There's still quite a few poop jokes, and like
I mean, there's a couple like good poop jokes.
there,
at
yeah,
least.
there's actually some decent poop jokes as poop jokes go, but like it's not like the greatest movie in
No.
the world. It's just really like it's fun. You can tell
fun.
it has heart,
Exactly.
and I think that's a really admirable trait for a movie like this to have.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, you can make a funny movie, but I respect it a lot more beyond its comedy because it seems like they actually, cared about the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and I feel like I care about this movie so much, and I know I've mentioned it so many times just because the other Ice Age movies are so bad.
Right.
They're so
I feel a need to
laughably
defend
bad.
this one.
I
You're
feel
like,
like,
no,
no,
this one
this
was
is
good.
yeah, this is like the good one.
It
This
was
is the one
good.
where they cared.
Yeah, where they actually cared about like writing interesting dynamics and arcs in their stories.
And Blue Sky really makes me sad as a studio because they had a genuinely promising start.
This is such a fun debut film.
And then like instantly realized that all of their competition at the time was moving far more towards like just like cheap garbage that was like funny and with a celebrity cast, and that was like all they needed to do.
Yeah.
So like they did a really great job with Ice Age. They did like Robots feels pretty good.
Robots has its own thing going
Ice Age
on.
2 even feels like it's got something going on.
They tried.
And then like
it's not good.
And then it's like
tried.
Horton Hears a Who, Ice Age 3, Rio, Ice Age 4,
Oh, no.
Epic, Rio 2.
Oh, no.
And they're just like in this weird thing where these movies are just bad.
They're just not good.
And then they do like the Peanuts movie.
Yeah.
And that's a movie, again, that feels like it has genuine heart. It's not, like, perfect by any means. But it's, like, it feels really surprising coming from the studio that just gave us Rio, Rio 2, Epic, Ice Age 4.
Oh, man.
And then again, they went, like, Ice Age 5, which I will stand by as one of the worst animated movies I've ever seen. I hate that movie. It's a terrible movie. And then, like, Ferdinand and Spies in Disguise, their last two movies... Like, Ferdinand feels like it's just weird, and then Spies in Disguise feels like it's trying to do something, and it feels cool, so they just keep flip-flopping between all of this, and I'm like, man, what's going on, Blue Sky?
I realize that people make movies and not studios, but it is interesting to look at like the filmography of Blue Sky. And
It's not about the
strange.
people. It's about like the actual quality of the film. It's the priorities of the film feel so different between them, which is usually a studio level thing.
Yeah.
Like when you make a Pixar film, you know that Pixar is going to have specific priorities that they look for in their movies.
Yeah.
When you make a Illumination film, they also have priorities, but they are much different from those Pixar priorities, but they're genuinely pretty, like, or generally pretty consistent.
Yeah, you pretty much know what you're going to get if you go into an Illumination.
And then you have like
Studios
these
film.
Weird studios like Blue Sky and Sony,
well,
which
again,
just absolutely flip-flop.
They pair up with, like, they do a lot of like not collaborations. What's the correct word?
They do a lot of collabs.
Yeah, a lot of collabs. But like they team up with a lot of
They team up
with a lot of different like companies from movie to movie.
Yeah,
like this is
that's true.
Yeah, like Sony especially does a lot of like different studios that they make movies with. Which lead to wildly different results each time.
But yeah, it's really sad to me that at the end of the day that Blue Sky ended up getting like devoured by Disney.
Right, it just is gone, basically.
And their last project got like murdered and sent to Netflix.
Oh my goodness, dude. Wait, I thought Adventures of Buck was their last thing.
Well, that was their like last thing.
But I thought
they were
that
in
was
the middle.
on Disney now.
No, they were in the middle of a project.
Like the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Ooh.
So yeah. It's just sad, but Ice Age is a cool way to start this weird studio's little legacy.
Yeah. Go watch Bunny if you haven't seen it. I think it's a really fun short. I don't think Micah's seen it.
I have not.
It's a really janky looking film. It's funny.
All like pre-2000s or early 2000 like really low budget early 2000s CG animation is so funny looking.
Right? No, dude, they have like this moth they have a lot of moths in that short. And they like the wing flapping is like so realistic for some reason. I'm like, why does it look so like,
that was the thing they focused on was the wing flapping.
Like the bunny itself looks awful, like hopping around. It looks like it's about to fall over dead. But like for some reason they have like really good like lighting and the moths look great. And you know, they attempt some sort of like emotional message. It's a very short film, but yeah, it's fun. I say go check it out if you like the aesthetics of this at all. But yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add to the movie?
I don't know. The only thing that I haven't mentioned that I actually like would care to mention is that I just don't generally like the saber-toothed tiger lineup. You mentioned that you enjoyed.
I don't know. I enjoy them. I think they're kind of funny.
I don't care about them. Like any
Fair
scene.
enough.
Yeah, any scene that all of them are in, I'm like, okay, yeah, we get it. Okay, let's go.
I don't know. I think they're just kind of funny because how drastically different they are from the rest of the movie.
Yeah, no, like that tonal Wow, I'm just forgetting every word today.
Shift.
The tonal
Parallel,
like dynamic between like the lighthearted comedy to immediately like the next scene being like we gotta hunt down the baby.
Where's the baby,
Exactly.
Diego?
No, I really like that. I just don't like the other like saber tooths. I think they're kind of annoying.
Yeah, the ones that are like, yeah, Diego, we might have to come after you now.
I hate to say it, I don't like Jack Black's character. He might be my least favorite character in this movie.
Wow.
I don't like him in this.
Wow.
he's giving a fine performance.
Hot
It's not
takes.
not on Jack Black. It's just he's like I don't find any of his stuff funny. And it makes me sad. It's like literally the most minor complaint.
I always kind of liked the white meat and the dark meat joke.
Okay, that whole spiel is kind of funny, but like literally nothing else. But yeah, not I don't really have that much else to say about Ice Age. It's got a pretty good batting average for its jokes, and I like the cast, and I think they put a good amount of effort into their dynamics.
Yeah, overall
So-
solid.
A good movie, I say. Not great, but good.
Yeah, let's get into what we watched. Alright, so for those of you who are new to the podcast or have just never listened this far, the What We Watch segment is a fun little thing we do at the end, where we talk about all of the movies we've seen since the last episode, give brief ratings, brief thoughts, and have a lot of fun.
Whoa.
Isn't that
That's
crazy?
priority one, baby.
Priority one, fun. We want to have fun with this
Whoa.
thing. Yeah, so we're going from the 31st.
It's never a good sign if you have to say we want to.
Exactly. Like, no, and yeah. In the class I teach, one of the rules we have is create, which half of like create is like have fun. And I'm like, that's a bad sign. I have to go
Right.
over this every time. And I'm like, yeah, we want you to have fun.
Want you to have fun,
Are you having
guys.
fun, guys? Are you having fun?
Are we having fun yet? Yeah.
But yeah, we're going from the 31st or
October
Halloween,
31st,
which
yeah.
is when we put out our last episode on Scream 6.
Yeah.
You can go listen to that. So, might as well just kick right into it.
Yeah.
Robbie, what did we watch on the 31st after we did the podcast?
After we released the podcast, we sat down and watched Scream.
Whoa.
The OG, 1996,
Yeah.
directed by Wes Craven.
A great Halloween movie.
We
if
watched
I
it
dare
on
say
4K
so.
disc, dude.
Watched it 4K, and we were showing our sister Marianne it for the first time. She had never seen Scream.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was cool. I think she enjoyed it.
I think when we asked her about it at the end, she was like, that was weird.
Yeah, she was like, that was weird but fun.
Yeah,
like
but
she
fun,
she
yeah.
enjoyed it. I think she didn't know what to expect because we both like really love it.
Oh, I love
and
it
like
so
she was
much.
really nervous that she was gonna like offend us by not loving it. But she like she didn't realize that it was supposed to be pretty comedic,
Pretty
in tone.
tongue-in-cheek, yeah.
So like she was like, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to like if I was supposed to be laughing at this stuff or not. I was
Yeah.
like, no, it's funny.
Dude, it's like kind of surreal seeing it now that I'm such a big Scream fan. I think this was my third time watching it,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. And it's, yeah, my third time. It's so crazy because now I'm like such a big fan of just like the mythos of Scream. Like going back and watching the first one after this
It's
long.
such a powerhouse.
It's so awesome.
It's so much better than all of the rest of the movies. I'll stand by.
Yeah.
It's got some really genuinely scary scenes. It's got some of the
Right?
best commentary, some of the best humor, some of the best performances, the best
Dude.
ghost faces.
Literally, I forgot how great just all of Billy Loomis's scenes are.
Billy
Any
is
scene with
so
him in it.
funny.
He's the best.
His fake out death scene is so funny. His little
Oh my goodness, dude. Yeah, it's just like the best thing, probably.
Yeah, I give it a 5 out of 5, obviously.
I gave it a 5 out of 5. I'm sorry.
And also a little shout out on that very same night we watched It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
We got it in before October ended.
Heck yeah. Well, no, I always want to watch that like on the day.
Yeah.
You know, you watch the Thanksgiving one on Thanksgiving.
That is true.
But this is honestly like a masterpiece of a film. in its own right, in my opinion.
I don't know. I think it's the weakest out of like the central holiday like trilogy
Really?
of
I
them.
think it's one of the strongest.
I don't know. I would watch Christmas way before this one, and even Thanksgiving I think has a bit more like funny bits than this.
Well,
does.
yeah, this one isn't as funny, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have like it's not as quite as narrative as any of the rest of them. But I think it's got like some genuinely like really fantastic commentary on like what makes a holiday a holiday.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
the atmosphere is impeccable.
No,
and
like
it's,
obviously it's still great.
I think it's kind of a masterpiece.
Yeah, like I mentioned when we were watching this, I'm like, it's a miracle that these things like turned out to be as like just like stone cold classics as they are, because it's it's a comic strip.
Yeah.
How do you adapt a comic strip this well to the screen? And they do it, dude.
I really loved Yossi's review. I'll read some of it.
Yossi Sloan, baby.
Yeah, he said the brilliance of Schultz's view of America is that culturally, secularly, all we have are these holidays that are mostly rooted in capitalism. We give them deeper meaning. They're not hollow. They're important. But the self-ascribed importance means that we will always be a little disappointed by them. We're still going to do the same things every year, though. Right. And I think this film, I love that look at like holidays, like modern, like American holidays. And I think this film captures that feeling, that meaning of holidays, like way more so than any of the other films do.
Well, yeah, and like at the end of the day, most of the seasonal films, less so the Thanksgiving one, are about like seasonal melancholy and like repeating like traditions year after year,
which is part of their brilliance.
Yeah,
and why they're so rewatchable.
Yeah, I was about to say, and it just always hits so well, and they're so funny.
They are. I don't know. I love it. We were talking about it for a while. I didn't rate it because it's a short. But
yeah, neither.
I love it. It's amazing.
It's great.
What did you watch, Robbie, on the 1st of November?
The 1st of November, I went out to the theater and watched Godzilla 2000 Millennium. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I hadn't been to this theater before. They were all decked out for Five Nights at Freddy's. They had like a big Foxy plush on the popcorn machine. I'm like, what's going on, guys?
But
yeah, Godzilla 2000 Millennium. I'm watching through the Godzilla movies at the moment, and this is not remotely in order, although it doesn't really, from what I understand, fall into the canon of any of the Godzilla movies. It's kind of its own thing. Like it's vaguely a sequel to the first Godzilla, like the OG 50s one. But like that's it. That's the only one it even references.
Yeah.
So it's a bit strange in like the context of my overall watch through of the series and everything. But it is really fun, I think. I don't know. I've got like Godzilla brain at this point. I always wondered what the big draw to Godzilla was.
I still wonder. I haven't
but
had
like
those Godzilla.
Literally just anytime Godzilla is on screen in this movie, I was like beaming. Like literally just I was like, this is the greatest time of my life. I love Godzilla so much. He's such a funky little guy, I think. But yeah, like on like a more technical level, I think the human drama, quote unquote, which is a kind of a make or break thing for most Godzilla movies, is actually really good here. Like it's almost as well, not almost as good as the first one, but it's better than like almost every other like sequel and remake and everything that I've seen. Like I actually care about all of the human characters in this, as well as the like fights with Godzilla and everything. I think generally like the foe they have for Godzilla is a bit weird and they spend a bit too much time setting it up. But like outside of that, I have such a good time watching it. Like it's great. Yeah, shouldn't have spent as much time with a giant floating rock, but I think the finale kind of made up for it. I had a great time. 4 out of 5.
On the 2nd, I watched Chungking Express.
Hey.
Another one of my Wong Kar-wai watches from my box set, The World of Wong Kar-wai.
Much more prestigious watch than mine.
Probably one of my favorite directors of all time. I absolutely adore Wong Kar-wai's films. He's made so many, even like the films that I don't like love, I love from him, like
even the baseline like worst Wong Kar-wai movie is still a Wong Kar-wai movie.
I was about to say, which honestly this has been my least favorite so far, which is interesting because this is like a classic from him.
Yeah, this is one of like his big like essential
the big 3 I think would be qualified as Fallen Angels, In the Mood for Love, and Chungking Express.
Yeah, those are generally like his canon
and
movies.
Yeah, this is probably my least favorite I've seen from him. I think it's got like a lot of weird pacing issues and stuff that doesn't happen in very similarly structured films from him, just because I don't know, the way the characters are written this time around doesn't get me invested as much. Like the lady in the blonde wig, which that's just her name. That's not me just
David
not remembering
Lynch,
her name.
David Lynch character alert.
She like I don't really care about her or her little plot or really either of the big plots, which is interesting because one of my other friends said like they didn't care about the second couple and they really cared about the first couple. So I don't know. This movie is doing some incredibly cool things. There's some all-timer scenes in here. There's some fantastic performances. I still like really love what this film is doing. But ultimately, it just didn't keep me emotionally captured for the entire runtime. And I was just kind of like, eh. But stylistically, it's incredible still. It still is a like solid, at the peak of his power, Wong Kar-wai film.
Yeah, I can't imagine a Wong Kar-wai film where he's not giving it his all, you know?
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
There you go.
Then on the third, I watched Shadows. Another one of my physical films. I had this in my Cassavetes box set. This is a John Cassavetes film.
You must be like rich or
His
something.
very
You got
first
all those
film.
Criterion box
Right?
sets.
No, I'm trying to watch through, or at least I'm going to attempt to, because I might be leaving the country soon, which will be interesting.
Spoilers.
Interesting for the spoilers.
Spoilers, might be leaving the country.
Spoilers for my life. Which will do interesting things for the podcast. I'm not sure how our recordings will sound once that happens. But yeah, I want to watch through like all of my physical media because I can't exactly take it all with me when I'm like to college out of the country.
Can't take it with you, as they say.
So I want to like get through a lot of these movies that I've owned for a while and haven't watched, and I've got a lot of these box sets. So yeah, Shadows, John Cassavetes' first film. Very interesting film. It's got like a lot of the Cassavetes-isms that I really like in it already. He's just got such a strong use of atmosphere and camera and character, and I really love the way he writes drama. And yeah, it's just like a cool film. Ultimately, it's very short and it's doing essentially one thing, but even with that thing, it does like a great job. I mean, it reminds me very much of like, just because it's similar in production to Mikey and Nicky, which he actually acts in, funnily enough.
Whoa.
Where it's like a lot
Deep
of
cut.
It's a lot of improv. Like a lot of this film started from just an improv film. And they had to work up like more and more and like retake a ton of scenes and everything. So it's not like it was actually just like these actors were throwing that out there. That would be the most insane film ever made.
They have to have like a Unimind, dude.
Right. Mikey and Nicky was doing something similar in its production. And I think it creates such a really great sense of atmosphere for these kind of like hangout kind of films. And I just love what it's doing. And the titular scene that it's based off of is cool.
Hey, who would have thought it?
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Cassavetes making a good movie.
I wouldn't like run to go watch it, but it's like, it's cool.
Hey, there you go.
Then also on the third, immediately after and partially during, I watched Despicable Me 2.
Dude, I caught the back half of Despicable Me 2.
Because my sister turned it on randomly during lunch.
Hey.
Or not lunch, I guess before dinner.
Yeah,
I don't
before
remember.
dinner.
In the afternoon. But like, this movie is wild, especially coming out right off of Shadows. This is just like, it's almost good. It really is just like right on the line of being good.
If it had just a little more juice, it would be great.
Exactly. If it had a little more juice, a little more
time.
tact, a little more care, it could have actually been really good. Or at least like palatable sequel to Despicable Me, which I think is a pretty good movie.
I think just on a plot level, it's kind of doomed to not be as good as the first one, but it's still got some fun bits.
Yeah, there's some
and
fun
ideas.
bits. There's some fun performances, but there's nothing much notable. It's Despicable Me 2. You all know Despicable Me 2. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5.
There you go.
Then what did we watch, Remy?
On the 4th of November, we watched Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Whoa.
Or rather, rewatched it.
Whoa,
dude.
Yeah, we wanted to watch this with our mom. She had not seen it. She didn't get out. She was not able to go out and see it in theaters.
Yeah.
And it just came on Netflix, as I'm sure you all know. So yeah, we wanted to watch it.
And we did.
And it's still amazing.
It's still so good, man.
I still think I genuinely do think I like it better than the first one. I think its message is much more impactful to me personally. I think it's much more impactful to like the culture I live in a lot. I think it's really admirable what it's going about doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the character work is fantastic.
Yes.
I love
all the characters
I love
so
the
much.
Ensemble in this movie a lot more than I love them in the first movie even. And just Gwen and Miles, I don't know, they feel like such personal characters to me.
Right?
Like I am like,
oh my goodness,
I
dude.
need like them to be consistently good continuing forward.
I was about to say Gwen's arc in this movie is so good.
I was about to say I love that we get more focus on Gwen, and her arc is the core of this movie, which is really cool.
Yeah, this is kind of setting up Miles, like his arc for the next
the whole
movie.
Series,
yeah.
I think it's really admirable what they did, being that this is a part one essentially.
Yeah.
Where they kind of like they set up Miles' arc, but it like is the start of his arc.
I was about to say all of his stuff is still like really good and compelling. So
instead,
somehow.
since they couldn't fully finish his arc, I mean, he has a mini arc within the movie. He still has a satisfying character arc in the film, but instead, since they couldn't fully focus on him, they ended up like having essentially Gwen be the lead of the film.
Yeah. No, I would argue that she is
freaking awesome. I love, again, these characters just feel so intimate and personal to me.
Right, dude. Literally, like, almost every scene in this movie is great.
There's scenes that make me cry.
Right?
There's scenes that make me laugh.
I forgot how funny it was.
It's
dude.
so funny.
It's so funny.
Spot? Are you kidding? Hobie?
Yeah, because like the stuff I remembered from watching it in the theater was like, oh, it looks amazing, and like obviously the animation is great. I remember loving like the emotional arc and Gwen's character and all of the like really fun expansion of the world and everything, but I honestly had forgotten just how funny it is consistently.
Even, I don't remember his name. I think his like title is just Spider-Man India. He is hilarious. I love him.
Oh my goodness.
Even Miguel is really great in this. I really want him to go like full villain in the third movie, which I'm sure he will.
Right. He feels like a bit more of a tease in this movie than anything else, but he is fun.
Yeah, I could see not loving this as much as I do, just because it clearly does feel like a part one.
Yeah.
It does not feel fully finished yet, but I just absolutely adore what this film is. I always had my reservations for Spider-Verse, despite thinking it's a masterpiece in its own right, but this one is just incredible.
It's a blast,
and even better animated than the first one somehow.
Yeah, it's more visually ambitious because now it has like a groundwork to go off of.
Yeah, and dude, like the stuff in Gwen's like universe with the kind of watercolor stuff going on, that is gorgeous.
Yeah. I just wanted to shout out because like one of my big takeaways this on my second viewing was just how like smart of a sequel it is. Like it goes about like it basically recontextualizes a lot of the first movie, almost all of the first movie, and it actually doesn't feel like a cheap like swing at it.
Yeah,
you know?
if it
like
recontextualizes it, but it's still the first movie still stands fully on its own. It doesn't feel lessened by this movie.
Yeah, it doesn't feel cheapened by it at all, and it manages to like expand the world in a really natural way and like develop all of the characters given like the time jump and everything in a really natural way. It's just really impressive writing for a movie like this.
Crazy film. Take like 6 years on the next one, guys. Take as much time as you need.
Take all the time you need. I want part 2 to be like perfect.
Literally. I gave it a 5 out of 5, of course.
I gave it a 4 out of 5. I'm still like sitting on the edge of loving it entirely, but it just, I don't know. There's something off about it. It constitutes a whole episode, I think.
All right. Then on the 4th, I also watched Inside Llewyn Davis for the first time.
Hey.
This was actually one for a little special list I'm doing, and I'm going to do a video on eventually. This was a suggestion from a friend on Twitter, working in a big thing where I've had like a suggestion every month of the year. So this was my 11th suggestion, and it was really, really good. I'm a big Coen Brothers fan. Always have been.
I feel like if you've listened to the podcast for any amount of time, you probably know that we're.
I was about to say I've literally been a Coen Brothers fan as long as we've had this podcast, if not longer. Because Oh Brother, Where Art Thou for a while was one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
and that was like the first thing I watched from them. But yeah, this movie is crazy. I really admire what it's doing. It's got so many of like the really like trademark Coen Brothers things, a lot of the slickness of writing and the snappy dialogue and like the great sense of odyssey to the story.
Right. I
But
love how their worlds always feel, man.
yeah, love the side characters, love the cast, love a lot of like the humor and drama. But really where this film like shines above like not even above, but just different from a lot of other Coen Brothers films is just how punchy it is. It's such a kind of almost brutally sad film to sit with. And it does that in a really effective, emotionally like cohesive and almost satisfying way.
I never would have guessed, given the aesthetics of the movie, Micah,
That it's sad. Okay, but like the first thing I ever saw from this was Please Mr. Kennedy, and I was like, that looks like a blast.
No, Micah.
And then I was like, oh no.
All I'd heard about the movie was that it was depressing. Like literally, that's all I knew about it.
Yeah, one of the top reviews is like Depression, the adaptation.
Right.
It's very, very sad, especially if you are an artist and or poor.
Right.
So yeah, it's crazy. I absolutely adored what it's doing. I gave it a 5 out of 5.
One of their best, Micah.
One of their best, in my opinion.
Very cool.
Then also on the 4th, Robbie, what did we go do?
We went out to the theater to watch the new Sofia Coppola movie.
Sofia Coppola.
Priscilla.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's
That's my
very
hot
neat.
take.
I don't want to spend too much time because we're already going pretty long.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting movie. It's very like quiet
Yeah.
and nice, but like very unpleasant and
Right?
like interesting.
Oh goodness, man! It's so like gross.
Yeah, like everybody I know,
Like sinister,
including me,
yeah.
was like sick to my stomach for like the first half of the film.
Yeah, no, like I really admire like the thesis of the movie, like objectively bad events through a like extremely subjective lens, and it works really well in that regard. I think, especially given the performances and the direction and like the atmosphere of it, it's really like
Dude.
really great.
There's some standout scenes like
Yeah.
the photograph scene in the
Yeah,
bed.
dude.
Like that scene is like sickening. That's a crazy scene. And yet again it holds that aesthetic of being like from an like objective point of view.
Don't you mean subjective?
Yeah, subjective. I actually was gonna say unobjective, and I was like, that's not right. But I couldn't think of subjective.
Yeah, but like it manages to it pulls off something really neat, but it's just not as engaging as I want it to be
Yeah.
on like a movie
It's
making level.
It's not quite there still.
I think in theory I really admire it, and like I think it's technically pretty proficient. It makes for a very lonely experience. Like
Yeah.
it has a very well defined atmosphere, and it feels like it was made with a lot of care. I just wasn't as personally into it at all times as I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And that's really my biggest like criticism of it.
The two leads are fantastic, and I
Yeah.
think it actually makes for a really fascinating like partner piece to Elvis.
Yeah, it's kind of impossible to not compare it to Elvis.
And I just think it's
given how
I
recent
think
that
I think it's
was.
really neat how they play next to each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I said it almost functions as like the cinematic antithesis of Elvis.
Literally, in almost every way, it literally does.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
It completely rejects like the entire mythos of Elvis's like artistic career.
Yeah, and it just like
It's
ignores
awesome,
it
yeah.
does not care about Elvis as an artist in this, whereas like Elvis like the movie acknowledges that Elvis was not a great guy,
Yeah.
but like is fully wrapped up in his mythos and his
I was about to say, it is
iconography.
obsessed. It is literally like dripping in the mythos of Elvis, that Baz Luhrmann's movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's good, but I wouldn't say like, like
I
show-stopping
feel
right.
like a 3 is a little low for it. I don't know.
I'm trying to rate more conservatively lately. I'm sorry. It's a good movie. Go watch it if it sounds interesting to you, because I think it's good. It is worth a watch at the very least.
Then on the 5th, we sat down and watched Heat. Michael
Heat.
Mann for the first time.
Yeah.
Michael, my man.
We pulled out the 4K disc again,
4K
baby.
disc. 3 freaking hours of freaking masterpieces.
Michael Mann.
Again, Patrick Willems, he has the top review for the movie, but I think he put it really well. He just said it's cool when a bunch of geniuses at the height of their power all converge on one single perfect project.
That's how I felt about I think that I literally wrote like a very similar review for like Taxi Driver back when I watched that.
Yeah, that's very similar.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this is like Michael Mann's version of that
this is just crazy.
in terms of like creative projects.
All of the performances are like legendary in this. Even from like dude, how memorable Val Kilmer is in this when he has like 2 lines.
He barely speaks during the movie, and yeah, like he has such a palpable presence whenever he's on screen. It's crazy.
This film has such a strong atmosphere and almost spirituality to it. It's so... I love what Michael Mann does when he pulls off a film really well.
He's a madman, dude. I don't know what he does to his movies.
Collateral and this, I feel like I end like spiritually different, even though it's just even though this one is just like a 3-hour action film where Al Pacino is like screaming at everybody and De Niro was like, I'm lonely.
No, that's what's so crazy about Michael Mann as like a filmmaker is he manages to craft these movies with like impeccable atmosphere and great visuals, and like all of the characters, you feel like you understand them on like such a primal level that you care so much about everything that happens to them.
Yeah, there's like, dude,
you get to look at their souls in this movie, dude.
The scene at the end where like both of them end up walking away, like making that bad decision that they know that they're gonna make the entire film, that the film pretty much says that they cannot not make.
Yeah.
And it's just like this really powerful moment. Again, somebody put it like you see like Al Pacino practically like dancing as he's running down the stairs away from his like suffering family to go do this. Like, it's such a powerful moment in the film.
Dude, it's easy to see why this is like such a beloved classic amongst like the crime genre and Michael Mann's filmography in general.
The action is phenomenal. The pacing is incredible. The story is so much fun.
It's like if Christopher Nolan made a good movie is what it's like. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I think it's very funny though, the more I watch of Michael Mann, the amount you could see how much like Christopher Nolan is riffing off of Michael Mann.
I was about to say he's doing his own thing, but he very much wants what Michael Mann has.
It's very different. It's distinctly different, and I think Christopher Nolan makes masterpieces in his own right.
Yeah.
But like, it's very clearly like they're doing like a very similar thing here.
Yeah.
But no, this is just genuinely kind of a masterpiece. I didn't love all of it throughout like while I was watching it.
Yeah.
But like
that's my biggest.
By the time it hit the end, I was like, no, it was worth. Like, I think it pulled together. Like, the more I've sat with it, the more I've been like, no, that all worked extremely well.
No,
it was never unengaging.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's wasting your time. It never feels like you're watching something that's not necessary. But like, I don't know, I just was never like fully with it, like something like Collateral has for me. And even Miami Vice, which is very similar to this movie in a lot of ways, is just a lot more atmospherically engaging to me than this one is.
I don't know.
Which is a shame.
I think this is about as close to a masterpiece as you can get from a film like this. I gave it a 5 out of 5.
It functions really well as like a thesis film for Michael Mann's whole thing that he does. So of course I love it. And it sounds great too. Mind you.
The sound
design,
the
audio design.
The score. Oh.
Dude, anytime a gun fires in this movie, I feel like my soul left my body.
Literally, man. The guns sound crazy in this film.
But yeah, Heat, great film. Please go watch it if you're up for it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Good time, man.
4 for Heat and a 3 for Priscilla.
It
does me dirty.
I'm so sorry.
But yeah, go watch Across the Spider-Verse. You have no excuse not to now.
Yes.
Go watch
so good.
Inside Llewyn Davis if you want to, if you're okay with what's in it. Go watch a Wong Kar-wai film.
If you want to see a funky little lizard boy, go watch Godzilla 2000 Millennium.
And heck, go out to the theater and watch Priscilla if you're also okay with what's in it.
I was about to say,
it's not a super like graphic film in any way, but it's a very uncomfy film. And if you have like trauma or get triggered by certain things, not the film for you.
Yeah, please vet Priscilla, but I do think it is definitely worth a watch if you want to go see it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I guess thanks for listening to our discussion about a 2002 animated film that I don't know how many people care about.
Nobody's going to listen to this episode, but if anybody is, thanks.
Thank you, yeah. I guess we'll catch you guys next week with another movie.
Yeah.